Okay, so since our last video, I kind of went through our my um, spreadsheet and I cleaned it up a little bit. I actually consolidated. I wrapped the text for my ACT and SAT columns. I shrunk some columns so that the spreadsheet's a little tighter. That's a good thing because that way you're not spending so much room on the screen with your spreadsheet, so it's a little tighter. What I want to show in this video is actually how to do some basic mathematics with your spreadsheet. And we're going to learn there's so many different formulas in Google Sheets or Excel. We're going to learn a few basic formulas. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go look at my SAT column. All right. So I look at my SAT column and I have my SAT Math 25th percentile, SAT Reading 25th percentile. Now, generally, people say, oh, I got a 1300 on my SATs. So really what I want to do is add my Math SAT score to my Reading SAT score. All right, well, I could take out my calculator and do 570 plus 560 equals blank and get a value. And then I could do it for George Washington, and I could do it for Boston University, etc. The beauty of a spreadsheet is that if you're smart and savvy, you can actually make the spreadsheet do the work. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So what I want to do is I actually want to insert a column. So I want to figure out what the 25th percentile combined score for my SAT is for each college. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a column between L and M. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click L, and then I am going to go to Insert, okay? And it says column left or column right. And I want to insert column right, okay? And it's going to give me a column that's the exact same width as L. And in that box, I'm going to write SAT 25th percentile. And I already had set it on wrapped. I actually highlighted the row and went to Format, Text Wrapping, and I wrapped it. So now, I can type in what's called a formula. Now, I could type this a few different ways. Every formula starts with an equal sign. So I can say equals. And notice when I type in equals, it actually gives me this little, if you see it, it almost looks like a U, and that means you're going to be typing in a formula. I could type in equals 570 plus 560, and I get 1130. That would be my combined score, okay? Now, I would have to do that. In order for me to get George Washington and BU and UConn and all these colleges, I would have to do that 10 more times. But you know what? Excel is really cool. And here's what you can do. I can type in equals, and I can click on 570. And notice what comes up. What comes up in my cell is a few things. So first thing that comes up, in orange it says K2. Well, K2 is the name of the cell. It's not necessarily what's in the cell, but it's the name of the cell. In other words, K2 is the cell that's in the kth row, the row K, and column K, excuse me, and row 2. And that's the cell that you're doing. Plus, I would like to add on L2. And by the way, you could have clicked L2 or you could have typed in L2. And now, if you notice, it actually gives you this little box here, actually gives you the sum. Press Enter, and I get 1130. Now, you might be wondering, what's the advantage? Well, there's a few advantages. First of all, let's say I wanted to change. Let's say I made a mistake and the SAT Math 25th percentile for Florida State was really 600. I can type in 600 and arrow out, and look at that. It actually changed the SAT 25th percentile. If I had just had equals 570 plus 560 here, that doesn't care about what's going on in K2. But if I have equals K2 plus L2, voila, I get 1160. I'm going to change this back to 570, and that number is going to automatically change back to 1130. Pretty cool. The second thing that's really cool is if you see this cell in this corner has a box, a little blue box. And if I put my mouse over it, I get a crosshair. if you click and hold down and drag that, you have now copied the formula into each cell. And notice what it did. It actually said it knew that K2 is the cell that's 2 to the left of M2, and L2 is just 1 to the left. So what this formula really said was I'm adding the cell that's 2 to the left plus the one that's 1 to the left. And when I dragged it down, it actually did that same thing. If I go into this box, it now did K3 plus L3, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. I didn't want to add a K2 and L2 again. I wanted it to add K3 and L3, and it did it. And it did it, and it did it, and it did it. And now I have the 25th percentile for the ACT. The only thing that it did that wasn't great here was that it reformatted my cells. So we can actually undo this, I believe. And we can hit Control. If you hold down the Control key and hit the mouse, we can copy this, okay? So actually, we're going to use Command-C, excuse me. Hit Command, which is next to the Shift symbol, and hit C. And then I'm going to select this area, and then I'm going to right-click. So I'm going to hit Command right-click. Whoops, sorry, Control right-click, excuse me. Control right-click. Whoops. Select, Control right-click, and I'm going to hit Paste Special, and I'm going to hit Paste Formula Only. And that way, it preserves the formatting. Whoops, didn't mean to do that, sorry. It preserves the formatting of the cells if you do it that way. So that's one cool math thing that you can do. And by the way, we're going to work a lot more with formulas. That's a very simple formula. Obviously, you're adding two numbers. How much easier could it get? There are some other formulas you can also do. So let's say I wanted to know what the average cost of tuition was for my colleges that I selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 12, and I'm going to put capital average in here. Okay, and I'm going to center this nice and neatly. And I'm going to go to my cost of tuition. Now, I could add up the cost of tuition, right? I could do something plus something plus something plus something and divide by how many I have. But Google Sheets actually has that built in. So you can type in equals. Again, now this is going to accept a formula. And we're actually going to use a function now. The function is average. And if I type in average, okay, it pops up with a bunch of different types of formulas. But I'm going to click average. And if I click average, it opens up a dialog here. And what it says is it says example, average. And summary, returns the numerical average value in a data set ignoring text. All right? And value 1 says the first value or range to consider when calculating the average value, etc. So when we do this, we actually have to give this a range. So I'm going to click off of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click my mouse and select down. Oops. Oh, hold on a second. I don't know why it went to F2. Excuse me. Equals average. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag. And notice what it did. It went from F2 to F11. Okay? And I'm going to close the parentheses. And now what this is going to do is it's going to take the average of all the cells from F2 to F11. I press enter, and voila, there's my average. My average tuition for the schools I selected was $30,592. Really cool is we can actually drag this over. We can drag over, and I can do this for cost of room and board. So I'm going to drag the formula over, and look what it did. It knew, the Excel basically said, all right, this person wants the average of the cells above, the 9 cells, 10 cells above the one we're in. And when I drag the formula over, it took and dragged these letters with it. And there's actually a way to lock that feature, which we're going to learn about. But basically what you can do now is I can drag over this formula if I want and get the average of anything. Now here, when I drag it over, it borrowed the formatting too. This is distance from home. This would not be in dollars, so I would just take the dollar sign away. Whoops. All right. So we'll just go to formats, and I'll just do number. And we definitely don't want we could have decimals actually for this. We could have 230.16 miles. I wouldn't. And I can keep dragging this formula over. I can get the average of my ACTs. I can get the average of my SATs. I can just do this forever. Okay? Etc. One last thing I want to show you that Excel can do automatically that you would have a hard time doing by yourself is you could actually sort your spreadsheet. So let's say I was trying to sort my spreadsheet by the cost of tuition. Okay? What I can do is I can select the cost of tuition. All right? And I can go to data. And I can say, I want to sort the range by column F. Notice, I don't want to resort the average. I want the average column to stay the same. So I want to sort the range. Sort the range by column F. Now, that was a little bit problematic because look what happened. It gave me Florida State as a tuition of $6,300. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to undo that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to select all the rows that I want to sort, and I'm going to go to Data, and I'm going to go to Sort Range. So right now, if you did this, you sort range by column A. You could do that. You could actually alphabetize this. So for example, I could alphabetize this if I wanted to. But let's say I wanted to sort it by cost of tuition. I could go to Data and hit Sort Range. All right. I'm going to sort by column. No, notice I'm sorting the range. So I'm not actually including the row 1. I'm going A2 to AC11. I can sort the range by, I want to sort it by column F. I'll go A to Z, and I'll sort. And since we sorted A to Z, it went from low to high. I could do this high to low. I'm going to require that your sheet is sorted somehow. I don't care. If you want to sort it alphabetically, that's better for you. That's fine. If you want to sort it by tuition, that's fine. If you wanted to sort it by SAT scores, that's fine also. I'm just going to change the formatting, and actually we're going to learn a way so that we don't actually have to keep changing the formatting. I'm going to just select all this. I'll change the background to white, and the only thing I want to do is I want to bold my average column in. I'll leave the other formatting alone for now. All right, so when you go back to your spreadsheet, I want you to do a few things. Number one is if you did SAT scores, I want you to go add up the SAT 25th and 75th percentile. I want you to get the averages for your numerical columns, and I want you to sort the data somehow. Okay, and feel free to go back to the video if you didn't remember something. All right, good job.